Well, hello. Here we are again. How are you doing, Kate? You okay?
Hi, it's Wednesday, hump day, they call it, don't they? I'm not
What?
quite sure why they call it that. Yeah, hump day. And I think for a long time I thought it was that for some other reason, but apparently it's just because midweek, apparently you get in a hump or I know, don't I know.
Well, I'll tell you what I have noticed, because on our Facebook we can actually measure the stats of who's active when, and it's really interesting that like Monday morning no one's on social media, then towards Monday evening, late at night, they all appear, and then Tuesday afternoon it's sort of late afternoon they appear. By Wednesday lunchtime, they're on social media, and Friday is just a free-for-all. It's all day. So if ever you want to know what your staff are doing, have a look at the interaction on social media. You will see it's fascinating, the times that people are on. But I have noticed a big difference, actually. Sunday is just dead. Nobody's on social media anymore on Sunday. It always used to be that the weekends were the hot times for social media. But I think due to all the things that have been going on, I can't mention the word because that will make Facebook kick me off. But because of the weird world we've been in, it seems to be that we're just moving away from our computers at the weekend.
Because we're all electronically dialed in, like now, for example, but all day, every day, aren't we now with work? That's or just generally communicating with friends and family. We're always like this, aren't we? So I don't know about you, but I just kind of want to put the devices down at the weekend and just sort of, live a bit in normality kind of thing.
It certainly seems to be the case. So guys, let me know that you're here. Let me know that you're watching. Just say hello, Sally. Hi, Kate. Hello, how are you? Let us know that you're here. This is our 5th smashing through agency growth barriers. So what is this show all about? Now, we're running this show twice a week for 4 weeks, on a Wednesday at 4 and on a Friday at 4. And this show is basically all about helping you get unstuck. Now, I know from my own experience, there's various levels, and we also know from working with thousands of agents across the country, there are various levels and various places where most letting agents get stuck. And we created something called the Agents Evolution Matrix, and we've identified there are actually 8 stages. There they are. Those are the 8 stages. Those are the 8 stages where people get stuck with their letting agencies. The first one being around 60 properties, next one around 120, 250, 500. And this is the next one, all right? So this is the one where we're talking about that stage between 500 and 1,200 properties under management. And what we're doing in each of these episodes is actually sharing what you need to do to get past those stuck zones. So when you first start going past that 60 properties, then past those 120, and then past the 250, past the 500 we talked about last Friday, and also how to get past the next phase now, which is up to 1,500. Now, if you've missed out on any of these episodes, by the way, we've actually put them all into a platform for you. So you just need to put your email address and you can get access to all of the episodes. And as we're doing them throughout the weeks, you can actually go in and watch them as well. So just wanted to share that out with you. It is there if you wanted to go watch the past episodes and the future episodes. So no matter where you get stuck, guys, you're sorted. So, Kate, what are we covering today?
So today we're looking at our 5th stage, and the 5th stage is looking at senior management and the accountability. So being able to put that team in place and be able to start delegating and handing over properly at a senior level so that you can obviously scale and grow. Yeah, stage 5, which is fantastic. So the idea here is that you are now the overseer of the business. You're taking part in the day-to-day nitty-gritty role player type thing. You are now the overseer or the conductor of the orchestra that you've now created, because you've got a big, decent, sized business now. But trying to get the right people in the right place, as we saw in the last stage, is difficult. So now that you've got that, you've got to let them run your business for you, which is very, very difficult, especially for someone like you, Sally. Is that not right?
What are you trying to say, Kate? Mrs. Micromanager over there has to be involved in everything, gets FOMO if she doesn't know what somebody's doing. But she's absolutely right. It's letting go. And if you are a control freak like me, it is really hard to let go. But you know what? And if you want to grow this bad boy, and you must know this already to have got to this phase, you can't do everything. And to be 500 to 1,200 properties, you really, really cannot do everything. And so in the last stage, we discussed how you've got to put your senior teams in place and create teams, new business team, management team, accounting team. You created those teams. This phase is where you let them take control and you start to put those management layers in. Now, we've got a special guest with us today as well. We love Cara. She spoke at our Agent Rainmaker Live event in 2019. She has a phenomenal story to share. But what she's going to be talking about here is some of her experiences on how she's actually put those management layers and got them to actually take control. Hello, Cara. Thank you for joining us today.
Hi, pleased to be here today.
Oh, I know, it's so exciting, isn't it? I love StreamYard. You can just go live everywhere. So you are now live across the entire internet of the world. So everyone is now looking at you. No fear, don't worry. So guys, please say hi to Cara and thank you for joining us here. So just give us a bit of a quick idea. You know, you've had to put managers in place and to let go. How's that been for you? Because I know you were involved in everything in the business just a couple of years ago. So how's that been?
It is, like you were saying, Sally, it's very difficult to let go, especially, you know, we're a well-established business, so we've been running for 17, 18 years. So to suddenly have to let go, because it's the only way forward if you want to continue to grow. It is very difficult indeed. So, but I think I'm getting there now. It's been a long process.
I mean, one of the key things that people find here is once they've got to about 500 properties and started to create the teams, and then they put managers in place. One of the things I hear a lot is, yeah, I've got a manager, but then I'm doing it myself. Is that something you've ever experienced? You've put a manager in, you're paying the wages, they've got the title, they've got the thing, but then you find yourself just, the staff are coming to you, you're having to do bits of their role. It can be quite frustrating, that bit, can't it? It's all part of the growing pains. It's perfectly natural, but it's really frustrating, isn't it?
It is, but I think also you've got to stop and step back, because it's so easy to get involved. And then before you know it, you are doing some of the workload. So it's something you've got to teach yourself, really. You have got to step back and let them do it.
You've got to manage yourself at this stage, haven't you, really, almost? You kind of go from managing other people to managing yourself and being strict on yourself. And you've done that really, really well, I think, Cara.
Yeah, it's just a matter of, I mean, I have meetings, you know, with them regularly. And I think that's that, you know, I can't like organise the calendar. We know what's going on, but that's where I have to stop. I have to then leave them to it. Yeah, so it is very difficult, but you've got to be strict with yourself.
So I've got 7 things I want to share with you today on things that you need to do if you're at this stage now. So you've got past your 500 properties under management, or you're just in the place where you've got your 3 teams in place, and you want to create a senior management, highly effective team. Here are the 7 things that we're going to share with you. The first one I want to talk to you about is basically making sure that the team sees themselves as a senior management team. And what I mean here, I'm trying to explain this sensitively. When you've just got yourself and loads of staff, there's you and loads of staff, you're the boss and there's loads of staff. And then, of course, when you create teams, you're creating little micro teams. You've got teams of 2, teams of 4, teams of 5, whatever the case may be, you've got your micro teams. But once you actually put managers at the head of those teams, you've actually got another team. So you've got your new business, your management and your accounting. You've got another team, which is your management team. And so it's really important here that the managers seem to recognize themselves as managers, and then they come together and bond as a team. And my whole 7 points here are around how you can create that as a team, manage them as a team, motivate them as a team, and bring together as a team. And I used the story, I think I mentioned it a couple of weeks ago, how when I was on the board of Arla, one of the things they did is they started having evening do's before the meeting. So just like, let's all get together in the hotel the night before, have a meal and a chat and whatever. And the team really bonded as a board. It really made a big difference. And you can't really... you can't quantify the effects of bringing the people together as a team to work together as a unit. Would you agree with that, Cara?
Yeah, absolutely. It is really important to that they bond. I mean, obviously, at the moment with coronavirus, it's so difficult as well, isn't it? We're all trying to, you know, employ staff, but you just can't get people to bond or anything at the moment. So it's finding new ways of doing that. But yeah, very important.
It is. And I think that's where you start to get the real nature and the real character of the individuals as well. So number 1 is actually create a team from your senior team. So if you've got your lettings manager and you've got your tenancy management manager and your client account manager, that is a senior team. And the way to think about it, like Cara was just saying there, is it's your role to manage them, but it's their job to manage the staff, Kate, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we worked out in the last stage that, you know, you needed to not be the one person that everyone was coming to you. You needed to not undermine your managers by having, you know, them go round you to round their manager to speak to you. So by this stage, you should only be speaking to the two people or the one person or however you're structured, and you should just be touching base with them, and they should be touching base with the rest of the business. It's kind of like a pyramid, isn't it, in a way of you know, filtering down. But it's finding those right sort of people, and I know you've done that quite well, Cara, haven't you?
Yeah, we have. I mean, we you know, we set targets with our managers. I mean, no one really likes targets, but you know, we give bonuses if they reach them. So it's a matter of looking after those staff. You know, I mean, everyone knows who those staff are, and you really just need to look after them, and they will look after you. They will manage those teams better for you. I do believe.
So there's a few things to think about. Number one thing I want to share with you is well, number one is create a senior team and bring them together as a team and bond them as a team and see them as a team. Because the challenge for someone who becomes a new manager is that they're not part of the staff anymore. So when you move from being a staff member to being a manager, you can't hang out with the staff in the same way. You're not a staff member anymore. You're different. And so they're going to be a little bit guarded. And so you're giving them a new team to hang out with and play with, so to speak. Figuratively speaking. But also something we need to work on is having those regular meetings. All right. So we need to be having, so I want you to write down, number one, create the team and identifying the team. Number two, regular senior team meetings. Now I can tell you now, when I first did this in my letting agency, it absolutely transformed my business. When I stopped having all these hour-long, 2-hour-long meetings with all the staff and trying to be everywhere to everybody and get involved in everything that I know Kate loves to do. But as you take myself out of that and actually just have senior team meetings where we could talk about strategy, we could talk about key numbers, we could talk about the opportunities in the market, we could talk about the threats in the market, we could talk about ideas and brainstorm on what the competitors are doing and what we wanted to do and those sort of things. It absolutely transformed the future of our business, because all of a sudden we started to talk about, well, maybe we should have more branches, or maybe we should set up a franchise, or maybe we should add extra layers to the business, or we should add a VIP layer, or maybe we should do buy-to-let services and not additional services. These ideas came from the senior team meetings. And if we hadn't done that, we'd have just been focused on the keys, the move-ins, the vacates, all the stuff that we do on a daily basis. So senior team meetings are absolutely valuable. I don't think that many people have them. And it's a shame, really, because they are hugely valuable. Kate, would you agree with this?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's important because, again, the meeting that you guys have in a branch, you know, on a sort of staff level is talking about the sort of nitty gritty of what's going on and the feedback and the numbers of viewings and the numbers of call books and things like this. And at this level, you don't need to be involved in that. You know, you need to have the targets. You need to give those targets to your managers, and then they need to report to you on whatever you choose, that might be weekly, monthly, or whatever, and let you know how they're getting on with those targets. And I think, you know, the problem that people start to fail at this point is that people can't control themselves and can't keep out of it enough. And they just sort of start appearing at those meetings and, you know, just sort of listening and popping in and that kind of thing. And it doesn't work. And it's like you quite rightly say, there needs to be a separate meeting for the managers, because, again, you are elevating them to a different status. You do need them to feel like that. You do need them to have their chance to vent or talk about issues or that kind of thing in their own environment. So it's just, again, putting that extra layer in, but really, really important that you do make sure that you have those regular meetings and those touch points, but just at a managerial level, because there is different conversations that you have at that point.
So it's about supporting them as they make their journey from being general staff to being managers, which we all know is a tough journey, a big mindset shift. It's hard, which brings me on to the next point. Point 3 is making sure that you've actually got some form of training to help them be better managers, because we've all heard the story of where we've had a brilliant lister and we've made them a manager and they've been a horrendous manager, or a brilliant neg and they've become a manager, they've been a horrendous manager. And you end up losing a good lister or a good neg and just end up with a, you know, really half-hearted manager. So it's important that you have something we call an MDP, Management Development Program. It's important that you have some sort of training. Now, when I was back just a single letting agency branch, we had a woman that used to come in every week for 12 weeks, and she would take them through management training, understand the psychology of dealing with staff, dealing with difficult situations, dealing with difficult people, understanding how to motivate people, the mindset of people, understanding the key numbers that they needed to track and to monitor, understand business objectives, understand the financials of a business as well as they get more senior. So it's those sort of ththings. So Cara, is this something you've done with your team about managing them? Coach might be something you're doing one-to-one. Is this something you've been doing with your guys?
Yeah, well, we do several things really. I mean, obviously the ARX program has been a massive help for us as well. With trainings on that, we use the ALA, getting all of our staff trained up on ALA as well, and we do a lot of in-house training. So our managers actually take control. So once a week we have a training day. And somebody takes control of that training session and teaches everybody, and that gets spread out around the managers and the next layer down. So everybody is teaching everybody. So that works really well actually. But yeah.
It is, and it's different for every business, so what you need to train your staff is different to what I would train my staff. So it's good as bespoke as it can possibly be, because it needs to be around your culture. It needs to be around your values, what's important to you. Definitely legislative issues need to be in there, but also managing teams, performance, numbers, figures, financials, those sort of things as well. So just have a think about that. What sort of things would be in your MDP program? If you're watching this here today, what would be in your MDP program? What would you put in? What do you need to put in, etc., etc. Now, the next thing I want to talk to you is point number, where are we at now? We're at number 4, all right, 4 out of 7. The next thing I want to talk to you about is about accountability. And this is part of the problem why you tend to hire a manager and then you go round them to the staff, or the staff come round them to you, is because this person is not being accountable. And we've all experienced it. A weak manager, someone who's not taking responsibility or not being given the ability to take responsibility. As Cara said, it can be two ways. It could be you as the boss not giving them space, time, whatever it is, training to do it, or it could be they're not stepping up. This has to be dealt with because it's such a common thing. I must have heard it 1,000 times in the last couple of years. I've got a manager, but I'm doing everything myself. And so what we're talking about there is accountability. Cara, a couple of things that you can think of that you've used and has worked for you to get your managers more accountable?
I think a lot of it is on numbers, really. I think it's making sure that they know their numbers, knowing that, how many more managed properties we're looking to get in, on board, or, we don't really let onlys, that's a bit of a word we don't like to hear, but, so we have a branch management report. So every month we look at those numbers really, and they all have small targets, which they have to reach every month. So I think that's is knowing your numbers, isn't it, really, and making sure that they report back to you correctly.
Absolutely. You're absolutely spot on there. So the numbers that the staff have will be different to the numbers the managers have. So, for example, the staff will be responsible for doing their 15 lets each, or their 20 listings, or whatever their staff targets are. But the manager's responsibility is to actually get their team achieving. This is the big difference. It's not about how good that individual person is anymore. It's how good they are at getting their team effective. So if their individual target as an individual was to do 15 lets as a neg, if they become manager, their job is to actually do 30 lets and get the team working. And this is what tends to happen. They say, right, my target's 30. And you say, Cara will say, your target's 30. Why have you only done 20? And you'll get things like, oh, well, he's crap and she's useless and they didn't do whatever. Now, what will happen to somebody who's not used to managing managers is they'll say, oh, I know, that's terrible, isn't it? My God, what are we going to do about it? What an idiot. The reality is what the owner should be saying, or the business leader should be saying to the manager is, Mr. Manager, it's your job to get that team managing. If they're crap, you should be doing something about it. If they're never going to perform, you should be exiting from the business or training them. If they need help and support, you should be training and supporting them to perform. You cannot come here and blame them. You are ultimately responsible. You need to make sure your team is achieving. So it's a totally different conversation, Kate, isn't it, to what you would have with a member of staff, but it's having that accountability.
Yeah, that's great. And there's a great book that I would suggest that you read it, called Who Moved My Cheese, which is talking about this, because quite often, managers are quite quick, especially new managers or managers that haven't been managed or trained properly, are quite quick to put other people as their excuse. But essentially, it's extreme accountability, and they are accountable for that, and they are the one who has to report to you. So actually, it's worse, isn't it? You know, so they've got to come with those figures and be responsible for them and have some sort of plan or action points of what they're going to do. I know this doesn't look great. I'm on top of this. I know why, and this is what we're going to be doing to change that. Because otherwise, as Sally says, they're not really managing anything. They're just sort of a messenger of information, and that's not the point at all.
No, probably paying far too much to just be a messenger. Yeah. Somebody else to do that for some post-it notes or something. So the next thing we need to think about is making sure that they understand the numbers that they're responsible for, what their accounts. Cara said they've got to have their numbers. They've got to understand what their numbers are, what they're accountable for, and that they are ultimately responsible. But you need to give them the tools. So make sure if they've got somebody who's not performing, they have the authority to deal with that, and they know how. If they've got somebody that needs to do better and needs some training, they need to understand what they can do around the training and how they can implement that. So just make sure they've got the tools and they have the authority to do what needs to be done, but also the information, education and training to be able to, which is where that senior team reporting comes in, really, really, really important about, what's our authority levels, what can we actually do, where can we go for training? Because you don't want to suddenly find out they've just sent 20 people on a training course at 300 quid a piece. You'll be going, panic. What do you actually want them to do? And one of the things we like to do is we say to them that it's their job to actually bring some training and coaching and education into the weekly meetings. They've got their structured training, whatever that is, but also in the meetings, make it educational, make it fun, bring something in. So every week they're doing something. So for example, one of the things we do is we get the manager to get the staff to read the tenancy agreement this week. And then next week at the next meeting, give us feedback on what they found interesting, what they didn't know, what they learned, what they've forgotten about. And then the week after, maybe make them read the La Course Fire Safety Manual or the HHSRS or something.
She's really so cruel, isn't she? I mean, honestly, so cruel, horrible.
That's what we're doing. That's exactly what we're doing at the moment. We're reading 10 pages of the calls every week, and then we're having a discussion.
It's brilliant. It's a hefty document, that is. And don't forget I don't know if you've done this yet. Did you get them to do a fire safety risk assessment on their own homes?
I will be. We're only about 25 or 30 pages into it, so yes, they will be. That's part of it.
I think it's about page 45. There's a risk assessment, and it was hilarious because everybody, including myself, was living in a fire death trap. It's hilarious. Well, it's not funny, but it was funny if you've got a sick sense of humor like me. But anyway, so make training part of that process. It really does help. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about, number 5, is about reporting tools. Now, just before we go into number 5, I just want to let you know we're actually running the most amazing event in March, not in July. Where's July come from? March 19th to the 21st of March, called ARX Mastery. It is 3 days, and we're going to be sharing stories of agents that have literally obliterated these barriers and gone from stage 1 right up to stage 6s and 7s. People that have added 100k, 250k, 500 properties. I've got one guy that's added 1 million in 2020 when most people were hiding under a rock. We're going to be sharing all these stories and sharing, more importantly, the strategies of how they did that. Now, you can attend for £147. And for another week, we've got 1 week left. We're offering 2-for-1 tickets. Now, Cara, you've been to some of our events. I know you spoke at our last one as well. What are our
fabulous as well?
What are our events like?
They're fun. They're action-packed. I come back with so much information, and having fun at the same time. So very, very invaluable.
Yeah,
we're mad not to be there.
We believe that if you're having fun, you're going to learn better. Whereas if you're bored and falling asleep and passing out, you're not going to learn so fast. So guys, just go over to Agent Rainmaker Accelerator Mastery, so ARX Mastery, .co.uk/register7. And you can see there how you can grab a ticket, £147, and you get a free one so you can bring somebody with you. We're using a big kick-ass studio. We've got 360-degree screens. We've never done it before. We're trying it. And we're going to be running an amazing event, sharing loads of stuff. Anyway, we'll crack on. So number 5, what I want to talk to you about is making sure that you have new reporting tools. So when you're just running the branch itself and you've just got staff, you'll have some sort of dashboard spreadsheet with how many lets have we done, how many viewings have we done, how many valuations have we done, how many of this have we done, how many of that have we done. But when you've got a senior team, you need a completely different report, because their figures are going to be different to what the general staff. There'll be some duplication and some overlap, but what are they? Now, remember what we've said before now is that everybody everybody needs to have their key 7 numbers that they're responsible for. So this SMT report means to be, what's the 7 numbers that you want the lettings manager to report to you on? What's the 7 numbers that you want the tenancy manager to report on? Things like no gas certs expired, rent arrears levels, stuff like that. And what's the 7 numbers that you want the client account person to report on? So stuff like the balancing of the client account, failed payments, anything like that. All right. So what's the key numbers that you want to be reported back? So that SMT report is a very, very different document. And this is what you manage this senior team on this senior team reporting tool. Kate, I think this is way beyond the realm of a lot of letting agents. They never get to this point. They still run the managers like staff and still manage through. And it's such a shame, because if we can get this bit right, that's where we can find freedom. And we can do so much when we get ourselves away from the day-to-day tools, can't we?
Yeah, this is the real step back and look at the bigger picture, because you could look at an SMT, which is the senior management document. It's obviously, you can step back and look at the way the business has been operating over the past year, and you can start to forecast of what it's going to look like in the next 6 months. Now, this is something that not enough business owners do, especially in this industry. There's not a lot of forecasting. There's not a lot of knowing the numbers at a bigger, wider level. Yes, people might be tracking on a weekly, monthly basis the amount of viewings, amount of fully managed lets and things like that, but are you tracking the vacates? Are you tracking these other numbers that Sally says? There's so many complex numbers that go into running our businesses, and they are all important. And being able to have like a view where they're all in one place, where you can accurately see the ups and the downs and things like that, it's really, really valuable. And at this kind of level of business, it's really important, because it's very, very easy to take your eye off the ball and lose control of what's happening.
So guys, if you're watching, let us know. What do you think about this? Do you want to let go? Do you want to let your staff take control? Are you scared of letting go? How are you feeling about this? Give us some feedback. Let us know how you feel, because I can remember letting go for the first time. It was scary, man. It was really, really scary. But actually, the life the other side is much better. So I'm going to bring Cara in here. The difference between doing everything yourself and having a senior team in place, what has it meant to you?
Oh, just going back what 2 or 3 years ago, I was doing everything. You go on evaluation, so you go into a checkout, before you know it, you're cleaning, before you know it, you've got a black sack out and you're putting rubbish in and you're bringing it home to your bin. So I was literally just getting my hands dirty doing everything. And you have to stop, and you're not going to move forward unless you stop doing that. And that was a big turning point for me, really. And I think that's when I started listening to staff, and trying to see where the strengths and weaknesses were, and start putting structures in place for the staff, and able to take myself out, look at the business, and then start, knowing your numbers as well. I mean, I think when you're doing everything, you don't know your numbers. You don't really know how many properties you're managing, how many you're losing each month. You can see you can see the new properties coming in, but you don't take into account the properties that are moving out, and you're not reletting them. So it's knowing your numbers as well. And I think once you've got all of that in place, that's when it really turned for me. I was able to take myself out and get my life back, really, and really move forward with the business.
Because I know for you, I mean, you were working at one point, so you told me that before we met, you're doing like 18-hour days and stuff like that, and your kids didn't know who you were, and now you're driving them mad because you're with them all the time, and they're telling you to go away.
I know, exactly. The problem is they don't need me anymore. That's the thing. But no, it's like in the summer holidays, was because we're quite we've got quite a lot of student properties, so I was doing a full and a part-time job, and also having the kids at home. So really long hours, late into the night, early hours in the morning. So things have really changed for me now.
Wow, amazing. And the next thing to think about, okay, so point number 6 is about making sure you've got some level of corporate governance in there. Now, corporate governance should come in really from when you first start trading. I mean, letting agency car is phenomenal, isn't it? And when it comes to legislation, it's just like mind blowing.
Oh yeah, we all know last 20 years, it's just
crazy. But obviously, when you've got a senior team, you want to share this load. All right. So when you get a senior team, you want to start sharing the load out a little bit. Things like your anti-money laundering. You want to start getting people, working on your client account balancing and those sort of things. Don't hang on to this stuff. So again, don't completely abdicate it and just say, "Oh, it's not my job anymore." You've got to have an eye on it because you ultimately carry the can because you're the business owner. But it is time to share the load. So corporate governance, start looking at things that you can pass on to some of your senior team to get them trained and ready to be the future directors, because the next level after this is actually director search. So stage number 6 is starting to select directors from your existing team. So this is where you start to educate them on the corporate governance that's required in running the business, where you educate them on the things that need to be done way beyond what they've ever looked at. So understanding the cash flow spreadsheet, understanding P&L, understanding getting receipts and the effects of not getting receipt and the VAT returns, understanding what has to be done anti-money laundering and the TPO registration and your TDS registration and all those sort of different things. Start to spread that load a little bit, because obviously it's going to make your time freer and get you able to focus on the big things, which we want to get you to the next level and get you smashing through 1,500 properties under management and get you up to that 2,500, which is the next stage. That's where we want to be smashing through and getting you to. Is that something you've done yet, Cara? Have you managed to spread that load a little bit, or is that work in progress?
Yeah, work in progress. I mean, we have, we've I've got somebody who does our clients' accounts, and I don't have anything to do with that at all now. I just have one, monthly meeting with her, sign it all off. And we've also started a tenancy management team. So once the tenants move in, we've got a team that just deal with management visits, and that's really worked well because we can actually train them, in the health and safety side of things, or all those bits that you don't necessarily need to know if you're there trying to take the instructions on. So we really have divided up our teams now, and people are concentrating on what they need to know.
That's good. That's awesome. So just to remember, if you've just joined us, this is Smashing Through Agency Growth Barriers. We are taking you through 8 stages of agency growth. We've recognized that in letting agency, there are 8 common stages that letting agents get stuck and they don't know how to get through to the next level. And what we're doing here is we're describing the different ways that you get through the barrier. So this is the one that takes you from 500 to 1,500 properties, how you smash through that barrier. You can't do everything by doing everything yourself. You've got to get a team around you, and you have to let go. And that's what we're doing here. Now, we've actually put all of the videos together onto one platform so that you can actually watch all the videos. If you're sitting here thinking, well, I haven't got anywhere near that yet, that's fine. You need to go and have a look at stage 1, 2, 3, or 4. We've actually put them all on a platform for you. You just need to put your email address in to get it. There's no payment or anything like that. Just put your email address in and it will take you to a platform where you can actually go and watch all the videos in this series, and all the future ones will be uploaded to there as well. So this one will be up there probably tomorrow, and then Fridays will be there early next week, etc., etc. So you'll get all the different episodes of Smashing Through Barriers, because even if you're not there yet, you might be next month. You never know. All right, so the final point, which is point number 7, which I actually think is the really sexy one because I'm a sado, is actually having a dashboard. All right, so you need to have a dashboard of what everybody is supposed to be doing. So what exactly is your lettings manager doing? How are they coping with that? What's their target? So you need to understand what training they've had, what development they've had, what stages they're at. Plus you need to understand what their key numbers are, what they're monitoring, what they're tracking, and what are they good at, what are they bad at. So one-to-ones, regular meetings, all those key numbers and their training criteria. So you need to have a dashboard of exactly what you're trying to expect from all of your managers, because at 1,500 properties, you're not going to have 3 managers. You're probably going to have 5 or 6, and you will start to forget who's did that and who did the other. You need to have a dashboard to keep track of all of this. So for me, it's the dashboard. It's a bit like being the cockpit of a plane, Kate. Dest I mention planes to Kate? But anyway, it's like being the cockpit of a plane. What do you think?
I think it's absolutely right. And I think what comes along with this as well is the attitude of these people now, because, they are responsible for some quite high level parts of your business. And obviously having this, management tracker almost, as it were, really sort of brings home to the fact that this is important stuff. And I think at this level, you would expect their mind shift to come into play, because they're no longer making decisions as an employee. They're no longer making decisions for what might be best for themselves, for example, but now they're making decisions on what is best for the company. What is the best choice I can make here for the company? And I think that's the real difference between, staff levels and lower level managers, when you're looking in that for that director search, is people able to look at this and say, what is the best choice for the company now? Because those are the kind of people that would make the same decisions that you would. And that's the real key thing. It's like when it's your business, car, it's your baby, isn't it? You know, and your decision making is a lot, you're more sort of objective and what's the right thing to do here for the business. And at this level, you would be hoping to find that in people that are your high level managers, that they're starting to think the same way. And just having this tracking mechanism is just a real way as well to track their performance and see what's happening, who's doing what, are they all doing the right things? Because again, it is all performance based. It's just that it's filtering down again into that sort of triangle of, you know, of productivity.
Cara, how often do you look at your dashboard?
Mostly not as much as I should, but I think I've got some teams that I really can leave to it, and I know they're doing an excellent job, and I don't have to check on quite so much. But I've got other teams that I perhaps need to spend a little bit more time with them. But that's going to be like it with all staff, isn't it? Really, you know, you've got to find the right people, and that is so difficult to make happen.
And
spinning plates, isn't it?
Well.
Yeah, yes, yeah.
It changes. So, you know, 1 month it's this team's brilliant, I can just leave them to it, so you focus over here, and the next month it's like, okay, we're back over there.
Yeah.
It changes, and particularly with what we've all been through in the last 12 months, with people being off for this and having to go there for that and all, it's just been absolutely crazy. But it's having your finger on the pulse, it's having that dashboard and making sure you're keeping on track. So let me just recap. I'm going to read my notes here. So just recap. Number 1 is about creating a senior management layer. Create a team, bonded team. They are a team of senior managers. It's about having those regular senior team meetings and making sure everyone understands what numbers they bring to the meeting, what they have to report on, what they're responsible and accountable for. They're not just reporting on it and saying they're crap. They're actually reporting on it and they are responsible for it. It's about having that management training, the MDP, we call it, Management Development Program, having an MDP, management training, whatever you want to call it, in place so that you're starting to train them. And I think a very good point there, training them your ethos, train them your culture, train them how you like things to be done, train them how you want them to manage, and training them to be better managers, because these are your future directors, your future business leaders, the people that are going to be standing next to you fighting fires a few years from now. It's about having that accountability, not allowing them to say, you know, it's everybody else's fault, it's them. It's having that conversation that says, your job to do that. If there's no staff, it's your job to find staff. If they need training, there's the sneeze. If it's your job, if they need training, it's your job to get them that training. So making sure they've got that absolute accountability. It's about making sure you've got those reporting tools in place so they report what their key numbers are, and then you can report back to them key things you want them to do. But having those reporting tools, not just like, how are you getting on? All right, and yeah, having those proper reporting tools they have to track and upload to Dropbox on a Tuesday night or whatever the case may be. It's about corporate governance. It's about training them now. Now's the time to make sure they fully understand the bigger things that's going on in the business, the corporate governance. If you suddenly couldn't work for 6 months or something, these are the people that are going to take over your business and run it for you. So do they understand all the TDS and the DPS and the TPO and the everything? Do they understand all of that? Do they know what insurances you've got? Do they know where this stuff is? Do they understand it? So it's starting to let go of some of those things and train them, and then finally creating yourself a dashboard. So you can literally go in once a week and just check it, or if you want to, check it every day and check it, whatever you do. It's having a dashboard where everything is in one place visibly for you to keep an eye on and check and make sure things are being done. So that is it. Those are your 7 key points for smashing through stage 5 of the agency barriers. Final word from you, Cara. Anybody thinking, oh, I'm not too sure, this sounds like a lot of hard work, I don't think I'm going to do this, I'm going to stay on the tools and do everything myself? What would you say to them?
They're mad. No, you don't do it. No, you know, it's just hard to let go, but honestly, you'll never look back and regret it at all. It's got to be done. Hard work, but it's worth it when you get there.
Absolutely. Final word, Kate?
Yeah, I think the aim here, guys, is to get to your input in the business is only about 20% at this point. If you can get there, then you get a tick from me on this point of it. And I know some of you are looking at now, and especially with the business levels at this stage, thinking 20%. My God, I'll never be able to do that. But you can, you will, and you'll, as Cara says, it's worth it, and you'll never look back. And think what you can do with all that time that you'll get back. I mean, the sky's the limit. Absolutely worth
it. Freedom is the other side of this, as Cara has discovered. Freedom is the other side of this. Spending time with your kids, if that's what you want to do, spending time with your dogs, if that's what you want to do, gardening, traveling the world when we're allowed, whatever it is the other side of this. So this is one of the hardest, but the most rewarding stages, because you can finally let go. And remember, guys, that's probably why you started in business, because you wanted to have freedom and you wanted to have time and you wanted to have choice. This is the final stage to getting that at the other side. So guys, you've been updated. Thank you so much. Let me know what you think in the chat. Just say thank you. Just say this was great. Just say can't wait till the next one. Just say something. Just say hello. I don't care, but just say something. Let us know that you're here, and we will see you here again on Friday at 4 o'clock for stage 6 of smashing through the agency barriers, how we're going to get you past 1,500 properties under management. Don't forget, go and have a look at the ARX Mastery. No, it's not the wrong one. Letting agency training, smashing agency growth barriers platform to go and see all the previous recordings of this. And don't forget to click the link in the visuals there to come and join us at ARX Mastery. 147 quid, get you 2 tickets, 3 days of complete coaching on how you can massively grow your business like Cara did and get your life back. All right, we'll see you all, guys. Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye, guys. Bye.